So I'm reading Moses. I'm reading Exodus. The story of Moses and him letting the children of Israel, or going to free the children of Israel. God commands Moses to go into Egypt and to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, so that they can go into the wilderness and worship. And so Moses begins to remind God of all of his inadequacy and why he is not the person for this assignment. And I'm paraphrasing. And I noticed as Moses begins to draw nearer to God, he begins to get closer. He begins to get into that mountain and worship. God's shadow begins to cover him and show up, and they're growing in relationship and fellowship. Moses' attitude about himself begins to change. He begins to find his identity is in God. And the thing that he thought he couldn't do, he began to realize that God has enabled him with an ability to do what he thought he couldn't do. Even though he couldn't see it at the time God called him, he begins to realize that he can do it, and he begins to walk that thing out. I wanted to come on and remind somebody that it may look like you ain't gonna get through this thing. Whether maybe it's a breakup, it looks like you ain't gonna be able to move on. It looks like you ain't gonna be able to get that promotion. It looks like you're not gonna be able to do the thing that you think you're inadequate to do, or God is calling you to do in this season. I want you to know, as you begin to get closer to God through prayer, through reading his word, through praying in the Holy Spirit, through spending time with him, he begins to give you an ability in your inability. And so the thing you thought you couldn't do, the thing you thought you never could get over, the thing you thought that if you put your hands to that you ain't adequate, God says, or he is doing like he did for Moses. He is equipping you to do the things that you think you can't do. Be blessed.